Hello everybody, I'm Youngmin Lee. Let's make Ssamsol today. Ssamsol is a technique that I use for Jogakbo making, and front and back are exactly the same looking. 2 rows of stitch marks are showing, and I used the 감침질 whip stitch this time, and it's very sturdy technique. This one is the one that I used sewing machine, so you can see stitch marks. Today I will use my hand stitching to make Ssamsol. So let's start. I will start with 2 pieces of fabrics. One I will give a regular seam allowance, and the other one I will give double amount. So this time regular seam allowance is 1/4 inch, and double seam allowance is double of 1/4 inch. That means 1/2 inch. So I am going to mark 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch, so you can see. Once you mark your fabric, then I will start with the regular seam allowance one, fold it from the outside, right side of the fabric, and the second one, double amount of seam allowance. Also fold from the outside, right side fabric, and you can use hair marker to give the line, or you can iron it. And then you will place folded seam allowances facing together. And I will put a pin and maybe another one. Then I can start with my thread, and single thread I will make a knot by placing a needle on top of one end of thread, and you can see the circle part. I will wrap around 3 times and hold with my 2 fingers and pull it out until I can feel the small knot. And I can trim the end. Now I think I am ready to stitch. So you can see folded seam allowances are meeting together. So I will go through the back of the seam allowance fold and go through the needle to the front. And I will do 감침질 whip stitch. From one side to the other side, all the way until you reach to the end of the seam. So back to the front, back to the front, back to the front, circular motion like this, and you can see the stitch marks from the front and the back, and try to make them even length and even spacing. So keep stitching with the 감침질 whip stitch until you reach to the end of stitching line. And when you reach to the end, just go through the back layer only. So you can place your needle and thread in between 2 layers and tie a knot. And you can see the knot that I stitch and bury in between layers. Now we are done doing one stitch line, and when you see from the back inside, one seam allowance is smaller than the other one, so using the bigger one, you score the line and fold it over the smaller seam allowance to cover, to encase the raw edge, and then you can iron. Then using the marker, you will give one more line at the edge of the fold, so you can fold it back and stitch two pieces of fabrics together. Again, I will tie a knot, wrap around 3 times, hold with your fingers and pull it out. This time I think I will start from the front fold so I can hide my starting knot in between 2 layers. Do the same stitch, 감침질, whip stitch, from back to the front, back to the front. Try to make even length and even space. And as you can see, I'm using my left thumb nail to guide my needle so I can make even size stitches. And then at the end, I will go through just one layer, which is back layer. So I can place my needle and thread in between and then tie a knot. Then bury my knot in between those 2 layers. Now let's open the Ssamsol seam that we just finished. Now I will iron one more time to make it nice and crisp, front and back. So we are done. This one is the double seam one, and this one is regular seam one. And back side looks just like this.